FIM Ice Speedway World Championship moves on from Kazakhstan, a 2,000-kilometre trip north across the country and the border completed to Russia for round 2 of the 2019 campaign. Shadrinsk swaps places with Toliati to host Russia's individual final this season, with Toliati taking on nations action in a week's time. The Kazakhstan final opened the World Championship's 54th season with a return to historic venue Almaty. Races pitting the Russian favourites against one another provided the highlights. Previously unbeaten Danil Ivanov and Dmitry Komitsevich sparring spectacularly in the 4th round of heats before Ivanov came out on top. The 2-times world champion only suffered his first defeat in his 5th ride. Western Europe's sole shining light, Martin Hiltunen taking his 3rd race victory of the day, and from behind after an entertaining Heat 18 scrap. Dmitry Koltykov dropped more points on day 1 in Kazakhstan than in the whole of his 2018 championship-winning campaign, mechanical failure eliminating him in the semi-final stages from first and potentially costing him as many as 6 valuable championship points. Koltykov's loss was Dinar Valeyev's gain as the young Russian progressed to his 12th career final and then put in a stunning from-the-back ride to claim his first ever grand final victory. Capitalising on the fight between points leaders Ivanov and Komitsevich, Valeyev stole the inside line and the night's biggest trophy, while at the back Martin Hiltunen fell and suffered his first non-scoring ride of the meeting. Franz Zorn's heavy day 1 crash in Almaty ruled him out of further competition in the Kazakhstan final, leaving Martin Hiltunen as the main resistance to the Russians again on day 2. The Swede was unfortunate not to take another major scalp as Dmitry Komitsevich only squeezed past him on the run to the line in Heat 9. The closest Komitsevich came to defeat during the heat stages as he became the man to beat. He and Danil Ivanov both came into Heat 17 on a maximum, but Ivanov's was the first to give. Dmitry Koltykov passing him and almost getting to Komitsevich as well, as the 3 world champions went head-to-head. Martin Hiltunen's day again ended with a fall and non-scoring ride as he was eliminated at the semi-final stage, leaving the top quartet from the 2018 series occupying the 4 grand final places on day 2 in Almaty. This time, there was no mistake from Ivanov, Dmitry Koltykov pursuing throughout, but finding no way past, while Dinar Valeyev could make no impression from the back. A first victory since 2017 for Ivanov, the reigning world number 2, 1 step higher in the early stages of 2019. Just 7 points cover the top 4 in the standings, arriving in Shadrinsk with no less than 5 Russian riders in the lead sextet. Martin Hiltunen and Hans Weber were the stars among the Western Europeans in Almaty. No less than 4 Russian riders from Shadrinsk's 2019 Super League team appear in their home round at the Torpedo Stadium as the club forges a new direction with its wildcard nominations. For the first time, Konstantin Kalenkin, Dmitry Borodin and Yerman Kanmurzin will have the opportunity to race against international stars under the tutelage of their hero Dmitry Koltykov. Shadrinsk has been a very important club in terms of rider development my entire life, and we've produced talents such as Nikolai Krasnikov and Dmitry Koltykov, who started here. Over the last 3 years, with the World Championship events at this circuit, we've been able to give our latest batch of young riders the opportunity to race against the best. We have great support here in Shadrinsk, a brilliant opportunity for training, everything we need to back up our work and achieve our goals. This meeting is the icing on the cake, a great experience for us to watch the foreign riders, study their equipment and learn how they ride. Of course, we aim to support each other and keep each other motivated, but the main reason for us to be here is to study the other riders and copy them. We will particularly attempt to learn from our teammate, world champion Dmitry Koltykov, who we hope will win in Shadrinsk this weekend. Dmitry Koltykov spent his youth under the tutelage of Nikolai Krasnikov, an 8 times world champion, before moving out of his shadow with 3 titles of his own. Koltukov has remained with his local club in the Russian Super League to bring on the next generation behind him, with Konstantin Kalenkin in particular aiming to follow in the world #1's footsteps. It's natural for a young rider to look up to the older members of the team. It's very valuable to have a role model, and it's my pleasure to help the young riders, teaching them how to ride at this level. I'm very happy that we have such a high-level rider as Dmitry Koltukov in our team at Shadrinsk. During meetings, he gives us advice, little tips and motivation to help us move forward. I'm also very thankful to the organisers and trainers for this wildcard opportunity. I hope to gain as much experience as possible from this race and compete at a high level. Shadrinsk became Russia's 10th different World Championship venue when it hosted round 2 of the 2017 series. And after a break for Nations action last year, the Torpedo Stadium is back on the individual calendar for 2019, with a near-capacity crowd turning out in temperatures as low as -20 for a glimpse of their heroes. Franson remains on the sidelines through injury, and at late notice, track reserve Dmitry Borodin stands in to replace the Austrian. Meanwhile, Stefan Pletschaka makes his first appearance of 2019 after missing the opening round. Top 2 in the world from 2018 provided a spectacular start to the action in Shadrinsk with a brilliant head-to-head in the opening round of heats. Points leader Danil Ivanov came into Heat 4 with a 7-point advantage over Dmitry Koltukov, but by the checkered flag that had been slashed to 4. Ivanov coming to grief on the final turn, and the race allowed to reach its conclusion with Koltukov up front. Andrei Shishigov found his gating gloves in Shadrinsk, but after a first ride win, he dropped 2 crucial points, slipping backwards in Heat 5, and a subsequent tapes infringement in his 3rd ride cost the Russian a place in the semi-final stages. Dinar Valeev instead kept pace with Koltukov at the top of the meeting standings, stringing together 3 race victories. Koltukov matched Valeev with 9 out of 9. He and Dmitry Komitsevich both having gone into Heat 19 unbeaten, but Koltukov keeping up his momentum with a lap 3 pass to take the checkered flag. After earlier defeats at the hands of meeting leaders Koltukov and Valeev, Nikita Toloknov took back-to-back race victories, the second in spectacular style from 4th to 1st. Local wildcard Konstantin Kalenkin had shown well up front, and his consistency showed a maturity beyond his experience, but he went through the heats without a first win at World Final level. Martin Harahiltonen also went through the heats without a race victory, as he was unable to match the Russians on their hard home ice. Konstantin Kalenkin proving that point by claiming an impressive scalp on the final turn in Heat 18. Nikita Toloknov secured his best World Championship score to date with 13 from 5 rides and finished the heat stages with a flourish. Full of optimism after his from-the-back efforts in the 4th round, Toloknov made successive overtakes on Dmitry Borodin and Dmitry Komitsevich to take his 3rd race victory of the day. And there was time for one final surprise in Heat 20, as Dmitry Koltukov suffered his first defeat of the day, Dinar Valeev recording his 4th victory and with a lap 4 pass on the reigning champion. Koltukov nonetheless qualifies to the semi-finals as top seed along with 5 of his fellow countrymen. Andrei Shishigov only a point short of making it 7 Russians in the top 8. Stefan Svensson instead makes his first semi-final appearance of 2019. Semi-final number 1 gives us a rematch between the reigning world number 1 and 2 after their dramatic clash in the opening round of heats. Off the inside gate in red, Dmitry Koltykov, just 1 point dropped so far here today against Dinar Valiev, who lines up in semi-final 2. Daniil Ivanov goes off gate 2 in blue, 4 race victories following his heat 4 fall. A semi-finalist in his World Championship debut, Konstantin Kalenkin, goes in white. 10 points his score, clearly one to watch for the future, but he was comfortably beaten by both Koltykov and Ivanov in the heats. And his fight here will most likely be for third position against Martin Harri-Hiltunen. The Swede goes off the outside gate with just 7 points to his name, his lowest score since Togliatti last year. An unexpected place in the grand final would be a great way for him to salvage this meeting, but we've got 2 clear favourites of the 2 inside gates, and I expect 2 races in 1 as the tapes rise. So Koltykov, Ivanov, Kalenkin and Harri-Hiltunen, the lineup for semi-final number 1. The first 2 grand final places up for grabs here. And it's a fast start off the inside gate from Dmitry Koltykov. Daniil Ivanov moves straight to the inside line to protect that all-important second place and breaks clear of Konstantin Kalenkin. Slow start for Martin Harri-Hiltunen, who's stranded somewhat out at the back. Kalenkin losing shape coming off turn number 4 though, and Harri-Hiltunen starts to gain on him, as I expected really. Big gap between second and third positions, and there goes Martin Harri-Hiltunen now, taking advantage of Kalenkin's error at the end of the previous lap and carrying his momentum through into third position. But I think that's going to settle this semi-final number 1 down pretty early, with Kalenkin having struggled early on, Martin Harri-Hiltunen having missed the start, and the 2 favourites of the 2 inside gates having locked back to the inside line on the first 2 turns to pull clear. Martin Harri-Hiltunen now having to work hard to defend against Konstantin Kalenkin, trying the outside line in the latter stages of this race, but that's only over the single point in the minor positions, and our 2 qualifiers will be Dmitry Koltykov and Daniil Ivanov, very close in the run down to the line between Martin Harri-Hiltunen and Konstantin Kalenkin over third, but Kalenkin suffers his first non-scoring ride of the day as Martin Harri-Hiltunen collects the consolation point behind qualifiers Koltykov and Ivanov. The more attractive of the semi-final lineups, this one. 3 Russian riders who've been evenly matched here today, fighting over 2 grand final places. Dinar Valiev, 2 points dropped in Heat 15, is otherwise unbeaten. Nikita Toloknov, 3 wins in succession. His most recent over Dmitry Komitsevich, the most significant. Komitsevich hasn't looked at his best so far today in terms of pace, but he's a known trapper and has already beaten Valiev and Svensson in the heats. Stefan Svensson off the outside gate in yellow. The veteran hasn't made a final in the last decade, and that looks unlikely to change here. Great to see him back in the semi-finals though, for the first time in 2019. Valiev, Toloknov, Komitsevich and Svensson. Great start off 3 from Komitsevich. Comfortable hole shot for the former world champion, but he's run wide coming off turn number 2. Valiev presses home an advantage to move through up front, and he's going to hang Komitsevich out to dry here, and Nikita Toloknov comes through up the inside line coming off turn number 4. The battle now for second. Komitsevich is going backwards, and Toloknov comes through for second position. Komitsevich responds up on the outside line. Toloknov has to be brave into turn number 3, holds his ground and forces Komitsevich wider than he wants to go. And suddenly Dmitry Komitsevich has gone from first to third and is now outside of the qualification positions. And this would be a massive surprise. The 2 youngsters in first and second positions, with Dmitry Komitsevich working as hard as you like around the outside line. Now look at how deep Komitsevich is having to go to try and find something extra. But he's taking a longer route around the turns, and Toloknov is pulling away. This one looks settled. Komitsevich only now switching back to the inside line. It's too little too late. And it's Valiev and Toloknov who move through. Our first big name elimination here in Shadrinsk. Dmitry Komitsevich tumbling out of semi-final number 2. Valiev taking the 3 points. Toloknov in second for 2. Komitsevich just the consolation point. Svensson well adrift out at the back in semi-final 2. Well, we're guaranteed a new winner here in Shadrinsk in the absence of Igor Kononov in 2019. But which of our grand final quartet will it be? Dmitry Koltykov, winner in 9 of 2018's 10 finals, looking for his first victory of 2019. Dinar Valiev, surprise winner on day 1 in Almaty. It would be less of a surprise if he won here today. Just 2 drop points from 6 rides. Nikita Tolokhnov enjoying the best meeting of his career. Can he cap it off with a first podium at World Championship level? Or Daniil Ivanov, winner last time out in Almaty, looking to extend his run of 4 consecutive podium finishes. 2019's form man completes the lineup off the outside gate. Koltsikov again away well with that commanding inside starting position. Ivanov's made a good one, but stuck up on the outside line coming off turn number 2. His first overhaul by Dinar Valeev, and now by Tolokhnov. Valeev looking up the inside line on Dmitry Koltsikov. What a move that is from Daniil Ivanov, from 4th to 1st, heading back into turn number 1. Straight across the front of Koltsikov, who tries to cut back. The two have impeded one another, and Valeev hits the front, but Toloknov's gone down into turn number 1, and the race is brought to a premature conclusion. What a shame, it was shaping up quite nicely out in front. It's going to be a rerun with 3 riders only, without the disqualified Nikita Tolokhnov, who just overcooked it back into turn number 1, struggling to keep pace with the front-running trio, and he will miss out on a place on the podium. It was an achievement, though, for him just to make the grand final. Here we go again, then, with the 3 riders who were in contention at the time of the stoppage. Tapes rise. Ivanov made a good start last time. He's made an even better one this time. Koltsikov is again able to match him on the first 2 turns. Ivanov right in the mix, but is blocked out, and Valeev again comes through into second place. Watch for Ivanov. He made a brilliant pass at the end of lap 1 last time around. He's done it again! And his rivals have opened the door and left space for Daniil Ivanov to come through from 3rd to 1st. Koltsikov now stretching every sinew, trying to get back around the outside of Ivanov. And Ivanov has proven himself the master of the inside line once again here in Shadrinsk, and both Koltsikov and Valeev made it all too easy for him to lead the way here. And Koltsikov now respond from behind. Ivanov covering the inside line. It's rough there, right as close to the curb as Ivanov is riding. But Koltsikov not able to get enough speed up on the outside line for the moment at least. Again, he darts wide. Dinar Valeev now well tailed off. Both of them getting out of shape coming off turn number 2. Koltsikov now has the momentum. Turns 3 and 4 for the final time. It's a drag race to the line, and Ivanov holds on, but only just. Great racing in the grand final in the latter stages there. Ivanov with a smart move at the end of the opening lap. Enough for him to take back-to-back victories. An incredible effort from Daniil Ivanov, who is certainly proving himself the favourite for the 2019 championship as he denies Dmitry Koltsikov a 25th career win. It's Ivanov on top. Ivanov's first back-to-back victories then since 2014. Only his fall in the opening round of heats, meaning he's unable to finish the day top scorer. That accolade at least goes to Dmitry Koltsikov, but Ivanov is the man to beat. Of course, I'm happy with the win, but I'm not pleased with the way the meeting started. With my fall in Heat 4, the referee decided I was to blame when Dmitry Koltsikov hit me, and these 3 lost points could be very important later in the season.
Эти 3 очка, которые у меня сняли в первом заезде, они бы большую роль сыграли бы на будущее.
Dmitry Koltsikov's top-scoring performance moves him up to 2nd in the standings, but as his rivals take points from one another, Daniil Ivanov actually extends his championship advantage. The top 4, though, still separated by just 7 points. At this stage, a year ago, Koltsikov already held a 13-point lead. His rival Daniil Ivanov is making sure that 2019 will be a far more memorable season. With temperatures 7 degrees higher, up to a balmy -13 for day 2 of competition, the protagonists assembled again in Shadrinsk, optimistic of a shake-up, following an opening day's competition where hard track conditions favoured the Russian riders. Youngsters Konstantin Kalenkin and Nikita Tolokhnov in particular took their moment to shine, Kalenkin failing to win a race, but putting in 5 runner-up finishes for a 10-point score. And with the first grand final appearance, Nikita Tolokhnov moved above Martin Harahiltonen overall, the Swede struggling to 8 points from 6 rides. Toloknov's progression from the semi-final stages also hampered fellow countryman Dmitry Komitsevich, who as a result of missing the final for the first time this season dropped from 2nd to 4th in the standings. Understated in his efforts since a surprise victory in Almaty, Dinar Valeev has nonetheless continued to amass points well. and arrived for day 2 in Shadrinsk third overall as one of only 2 riders to have made all 3 2019 Grand Finals. But having finished first and second on day 1 and sitting in the same positions overall, Daniil Ivanov and Dmitry Koltykov started as favourites for day 2 in Shadrinsk. The second meeting of the Russian final was characterised by a series of crashes in challenging ice conditions, and it was Sweden stars who were the biggest victims. Martin Hiltonen's withdrawal was particularly critical, as he now leaves Russia carrying an injury and almost 30 points back from the championship lead. Dinar Valeev, by contrast, put in another strong showing, and the youngster would have secured his 3rd podium in 4 finals had it not been for a mechanical retirement in Heat 7 that cost him 3 valuable points. Nikita Tolokhnov struggled to match his day 1 efforts at the second time of asking in Shadrinsk, but he did show some glimpses of the form that had taken him to his first final the night before, as he took his lone race victory of the meeting in Heat 9. Within 2 laps, Tolokhnov had worked his way through from the back after a slow start off gate 3 and hit the front with a pass on Stefan Svensson. Not to be outdone, local wildcard Konstantin Kalenkin came of age with his first race victory at World Championship level, recorded in some style. A memorable moment in his career was produced with a 3rd to 1st dash to get the better of former European champion Andrei Shishigov. A pair of spectacular crashes as the ice continued to deteriorate in Shadrinsk concluded round 4. Ove Ledstrom's Heat 15 crash ruled him out of further participation. And Daniil Ivanov's Heat 16 crash whilst chasing Dinar Valeev cost him both his maximum hopes and another chunk of his early season championship leads. With track safety issues increasingly apparent, an inspection of the ice was undertaken before the final round of heats, and the decision was eventually made to curtail proceedings ahead of the semi-finals and finals. Thus, the riders attacked the 5th block of heat races under pressure, knowing point standings would likely decide the meeting classification. Coming into Heat 20, only Dmitry Kometsevich could deny Dmitry Koltykov the meeting victory, but the race win he needed was denied as Dinar Valeev took the checkered flag. Valeev's earlier retirement counted against him though, as Konstantin Kalenkin also passed Kometsevich to move above his fellow countrymen in the points and seize the final podium place once cancellation of the finals had been confirmed.
You all agree?
The abandonment of 3 races on day 2 in Shadrinsk restricts big movements in the overall standings, but also costs Daniil Ivanov the chance to make up ground after 2 disqualifications during the heats. The track was very uneven and so were the starting positions, so I often ended up behind and having to work my way through. I really didn't expect to win, but after my win in Heat 18 I managed it, so a big thank you to my mechanics and fans. A mere 2-point score for Martin Hiltonen drops him back from the 5 leading Russians and into the path of Hans Weber behind. The fight for best of the rest is reignited by the Swede's injury. With 4 points separating the top 4 in the standings, the series is nicely poised ahead of a fortnight break before resuming in Berlin after the Speedway of Nations in Toliati in a week's time.